Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with historythroughcards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today. This video, I want to share with you a specific event in the career of Jim Rice, and this is a 1975 Topps Mini, and I'm actually led to believe that these cards were only issued in Michigan, and at one point in time they were quite rare. I've never actually owned any of these cards before, so I was able to grab a whole bunch. And I'll probably do a video on this set. But Jim Rice actually does have three rookie cards. If you consider his mini a rookie card, which I believe actually that's the case. Victor, the rookie card specialist, you can tell me if I am correct on that. He also has a 1975 SSPC, and I will do a video on this set specifically, but this set is really cool too. I kind of enjoy it. If you guys haven't seen what these look like, they're kind of straightforward. So my camera does not like to pick up cards apparently the way I like to pick up cards. So things are a little bit glary and blurry. I don't know, is glary a word? Anyway, that's his other rookie, and obviously his regular Topps 1975 is his rookie as well. But I do have a few other Jim Rice cards that I definitely want to show you guys because I am a big fan of Jim Rice. And this is the 1983 Flair. As you guys know, I'm a real big fan of this set. I think it's the plainness of the set itself. It kind of fits with the era, to tell you the truth. And I've done a video on the 1983 Flair set. So this is actually autographed by Jim Ed, and I'll show you the back of it too. Looks like that. And then on his 1976 Topps, and I kind of like this set. It's grown on me. Jim Rice is a really interesting ball player here in Red Sox Nation. And a lot of people have said over the years too that had he not gotten injured in 1975, that the Red Sox might have actually won the World Series. I don't know how much of a factor he would have made. To tell you the truth, he might have, but it's all speculation. So on September 21st, 1975, Jim Rice gets hit in the hand by a Vern Rule pitch and he breaks it and he misses the playoffs and the World Series. And it would be really interesting to know if, or at least to think that the Red Sox probably would have won that game. I don't know about that, to tell you the truth. But he was one half of the Gold Dust Twins with Fred Lynn as well. And a lot of people have said over the years too that had Fred Lynn actually stayed in Boston, that he would be in the Hall of Fame right now. I kind of agree with that, to tell you the truth. Some ball players are really adept and great in certain clubs, and then when they leave for another club, they just dissolve and they never reach the heights that they were when they were on the original club, whether it's by trade or in Fred Lynn's case, I think he went to the California Angels, and it was pretty much all over for him. But today I wanted to discuss a specific event in Jim Rice's Hall of Fame career that really, I think, sets him apart from other ball players of the era and even today, in fact. So here we go. This is from the Lynn Daily Item, Lynn, Massachusetts, August 18th, 1982. Jim Rice stands tall. Comment by Edward F. King. The newspaper picture of Boston Red Sox outfielder Jim Rice, super athlete, with muscles bulging, fear and concern etched on his face, carrying a stricken, blood-soaked 4-year-old boy to a waiting ambulance, should be reproduced and reprinted and distributed as widely as possible. Every hater, every bigot, every racist, every prejudiced mental midget in America should be exposed to that picture. In case you missed it all, here's what happened. The Red Sox were playing against the Chicago White Sox at Fenway Park. Dave Stapleton swung at a outside pitch and sliced a wicked line drive into the box seats near the Red Sox dugout. The ball struck 4-year-old Jonathan Keene in the head, fractured his skull, and opened up a fearful gash that spilled blood over the little boy and his father. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, like a shot out of a gun, Jim Rice bolted from the Red Sox dugout, leaped into the stands, scooped the wounded lad into his arms, and rushed through the runway. 2 minutes after the ball hit his head, the injured tot was in an ambulance en route to the hospital. As of this writing, progress is good. There does not seem to be any eye damage, brain waves are normal, and a full recovery seems likely. Dave Stapleton, the child's parents, and thousands of well-wishers can breathe more easily. The incident will soon be forgotten. After the boy's release from the hospital, a small article will appear in the newspapers, and that will be the end of it. But the symbolism can live on if we somehow hold on to it. The sheer beauty of a black man rescuing a little white boy should be an inspiration to us all. Jim Rice did not ask for a skin pigmentation test on the victim before he offered to help. The boy's father did not resist the aid that was offered. Rice's uniform was soaked with human blood, and no test devised by man could have determined the race of a bleeder. No one cared. Why does it take crisis to bring out the best in us? I think I know. We respond well to crisis because we act instinctively, and our instincts are basically good. Man is inherently well-intentioned. We see pain and we seek to relieve it. We see fear and we try to dispel it. We see threats and we try to protect. Only when we subvert our instincts and begin to rationalize, to blame, and to egoritize do we get into trouble. Maybe the Fenway Park incident can serve as a beacon of good example for all of us. I doubt if Jim Rice, a quiet and private person, ever thought of himself as a leader in the struggle for equal rights and human dignity, but by accident, and because of his own heroic but perfectly normal reaction, he may have become exactly that. Don't confuse that Ed King with Governor Ed King, he was the governor of Massachusetts at the time that that incident happened. And Governor Ed King was actually a very good athlete at the time and also played professional football from like 1948 to I believe 1950 or so. But I just don't want you guys to get confused with that's a different Ed King altogether. And at the time, he was running for governor as well. The governor Ed King, the then governor Ed King, I should say, was running for re-election in like 1982, and I think he lost to Mike Dukakis of all people. Anyway, I have another article here that's going to go more into detail about this incident. So here we go. This is from the Baltimore Sun, August 8th, 1982. Boy 5 hurt by foul ball. A 5-year-old spectator's skull was fractured when he was struck by a foul ball during the Chicago White Sox's 7-3 victory over the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park yesterday. Jonathan Keene of Greenland, New Hampshire, was hospitalized in stable condition. The boy was seated in the second row just to the left of the Red Sox dugout along the first baseline when he was hit above the left eye by a line drive off the bat of Boston's shortstop Dave Stapleton in the fourth inning. Dr. Arthur Pappas, the Red Sox team physician, said the youngster was taken to Children's Hospital Medical Center in Boston, where it will take another few days before this is resolved. Dr. Pappas said complications from skull fractures can include additional bleeding or brain swelling. Asked if the injury was life-threatening, Pappas said, "I don't expect so, not if the child remains stable and conscious and shows no sign of shock." In the seconds after the boy was hit, Boston outfielder Jim Rice picked him up and raced through the dugout and into the Red Sox clubhouse where Dr. Pappas said compresses were applied to control the bleeding. Stapleton said that when he hit the ball, he thought it would go higher. All of a sudden, I looked up and Jim grabbed him, and there was blood on the little boy's face and all over Jim. Stapleton said, I feel terrible. I just wish I could have it back. This is really interesting, and I'm going to kind of break it down between the articles here. First, Ed King, not the governor, is talking about race relations or the degradation of race relations in the 1970s and 1980s here in Boston. And I know that a lot of people probably know about the mafia scene here in Boston, but they may not realize the degradation in the races back then. And I think a lot of it has to do with busing. And I was a really young kid in the 1980s, but I do kind of remember a little bit about that. We had a lot of problems with the races back then. And I think it kind of escalated throughout the obviously 1970s and into the 1980s. I might not have been aware of a lot of what was going on because, again, I was a young kid and I had my own problems back then regarding my own disability. So I never really put into consideration or took into consideration somebody's skin color or their race or religion. It just wasn't something that I factored into, speaking to somebody or being friends with them or whatever. It just and even today, it really isn't a factor for me at all. Like I don't care. Again, there's bigger issues I think than somebody's skin color. Is just you can't do anything about that, and it shouldn't determine whether or not you're a good person, right? You're either good or you're bad. Some people are gray. Okay, I get that too, but that's the one thing that I think a lot of people today in 2026 may be like, okay, like what does that have to do with anything like the what Ed King was talking about? But you have to kind of put this article into perspective of what was going on in 1982 and then the 1970s and early 80s to mid 80s, and not what is going on currently. I mean, obviously, things in Boston are a lot better than what they used to be, but we did have a pretty bad mafia problem here with Whitey Bulger and the Winter Hill Gang. And then by like 1990, that was pretty much cleaned up, and it's been different ever since. You had a high murder rate in Boston as well, and in New England, Massachusetts, back in the 1970s and 1980s, and especially in the 1960s with the Irish gang wars. That all has really changed. A lot of parts of Massachusetts have changed dramatically too over the last 25, 30 years, especially. Generations pass on and then other generations aren't really told what went on in the past. It's kind of like a dog chasing its tail, where one generation passes away, but they don't tell the other generation, or they refrain from telling the other generation what had gone on in the past. And that's actually true with the hobby as well. I think that's why we're having so much problems in the hobby today, because you know generations are not passing down their knowledge. And I think Ed King also kind of alluded to this too, that, if you don't pass down knowledge, it's going to be up to other generations to try to dig this knowledge up, and they're going to have to start from scratch. Again, I do remember back in 1989, the Charles Stewart incident here, and you guys can look that one up, where Charles Stewart blamed a couple of black men for his wife's death, and in fact, it was actually him who killed his wife, and then he ended up jumping off the Tobin Bridge, and that created a lot of other racial issues as well with the police here in Boston. It's also kind of like interesting, like if you're not from Massachusetts or you're too young to have have known about any of this stuff. Like I completely understand. I completely get it. If you're just reading that article, you're like missing like a whole picture of what was going on in 1982 and in the 1970s. But that's why you need to have a historical context in this stuff. You'll completely understand it. But if you're reading it like I just did, you're like, wait a minute, what? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like why would race be interjected into a story about Jim Rice uh, leaping into the stands to really kind of save this kid? And that's where you need the historical context of everything else to understand this. For me personally, though, again, I kind of see people in black and white and then in gray as well, right? So you have your good, your bad, and you're somewhere down in the middle. But for the most part, I think that people are good. They have good intentions. I I want to believe that. Not everybody, obviously. If you listen to other fellow YouTubers, especially the modern guys, everything is not good with the modern hobby, and I understand that. I get that. I'm leaving that aside, though. I thought this was a really interesting article, and Jim Rice apparently he acted quick enough to really kind of save this kid's life, and the kid he grew up fine, and he doesn't remember the incident at all, but he stated later on in an interview that Jim Rice did save his life. There have been some incidences in ballparks where people have passed on because I think one guy fell from a balcony and then getting hit by a ball. People have gotten hit by a baseball, and I want to say Ted Williams hit somebody with a baseball. Obviously, all this unintentional, right? Richie Ashburn also hit somebody with a baseball as well, and I think twice in one game. I hate to laugh, I really do. So the pitcher involved was Rich Dotson, and he's actually really well known too. And I'm sure, like, these things happen, but I wonder what he must have been thinking about at the time, because I don't think that anyone really kind of mentioned him either in the articles or any article that I could find. Rich Dotson was the pitcher for the White Sox in the following year in 1983. The White Sox lost the American League Championship Series to the Baltimore Orioles, who went on to the World Series and win against the Philadelphia Phillies. And that is actually a quite interesting World Series game. But this, I thought, was really interesting, and it's something that needed to be rehashed and to have other generations introduced to this story about Jim Rice and what happened. Anyway, guys, I'd love to get your take on this, and I will talk to you in another one. Have a good one. Bye.